Okay.
Yeah, there's a deal on the side.
Okay, I'm Mary Lou Bledsoe, and I'm in the safety class, and I've got Paul Markwith with me. He's one of our ACR instructors, and he's graciously allowed me to come into his lab, and he's going to explain some of the safety features, give us a tour of what his lab entails, and some things that he would like to do with it.
I do have a sink, but it's not a chemical sink because I don't have any chemicals that we have to worry about coming in contact with here, so I don't have a chemical spray. What I do have as far as safety features, I do have exits on both sides of my lab. We go over the exits or where we're going to go in the event of a fire, a tornado, or an intruder on campus. We also have a fire extinguisher that works for every kind of fire that we would come in contact in here in my lab. So it works on electrical fires, it works on chemicals, even though I don't have chemicals in my lab. And then also wood or paper fires, works on all three. I have a breaker panel that's readily accessible, nothing that's kept in front of, so that any student anytime can go turn all the breakers on. But the lab is designed, even though my students are working with electricity all the time, they start off with a basic trainer like this. Each trainer is designed that they shouldn't come in contact with anything, at least not be able to let go of it. And on the basic trainers, there's two ways of them being protected. One, you can easily pull the electrical cord out, and so we go over this before they ever get on the training board. But to show that the wires are not applied, the cord is readily available. Also, the outlet itself, I've got three tied to a ground fault. Every three is tied to a particular ground fault, and those trip at as small as 4/400ths of a milliamp difference. A milli is a 1,000th of an amp. So as soon as there's just that much difference, the ground faults trip. So before the student would ever even feel a tingle, the ground fault is already tripped. And they do 2 lab books in here, and they will have done over 30 lab jobs off of this trainer before I even move them onto the bigger trainers in my center island. Center island, it becomes a little more difficult to disconnect power that way by pulling the cord out, because a lot of them go in and twist, because we start getting into 208 single phase, 3-phase power in here. But again, they're designed that they would have to really work at getting into electricity where they couldn't get off of it on these trainers. Also, as we get into the larger 3-phase, they'll have their own disconnects on them that they can isolate the power source, even though it's still plugged in. And I can show you one of those over here. As we get into our 3-phase, they have their own disconnect on them, because this trainer is actually plugged into the center island, but it also has its own disconnect power, so they wouldn't have to run to that one to turn it off. You know, this is much further on in the semester after they've already learned how to use their tools. A meter to measure the potential for voltage there, for electricity flow, and their amp meter measures how intense the flow is. So when they're first learning how to use the tools, it's more of a basic trainer like this. Where it's all symbols, and if I have this board plugged in, nothing that I touch on this board shocked me because they've got insulators around it. But yet you can stick your meter leads inside of it and measure it. So unless they get to reaching around behind the trainer, which they are told not to do, and without looking and just start reaching around, the chances of them getting shocked are slim to none. Most common thing that happens in here is they'll touch the ends of their leads, their meters, and stick up there and get a little tingle, and then they learn not to do that. So what I would like to have in the future, and it's already planned, is on my center island to have an all-stop buttons put in, to where when I hit that button, all power to the island is shut down. It will be done by large starters that will be between my breaker panel in this island. And as long as there's no problem, the starters are energized and they'll have power on the island. But if any one thing goes wrong, if a student should somehow be able to get into electricity and be shocked, all we have to do is hit the button and all power would be gone. That is what we plan in the future. But there was a lot of thought process went into all these trainers, and to make it as realistic as possible. But it's also as safe as we could possibly make it. You know, I've been here 6 years, and as far as I know, we've never had any major accidents in the program, and I've been blessed not to have any. We do go through a safety test before the students ever get started. Mary, is there anything else you would like to know?
I noticed that everybody has on safety goggles. I guess that's a requirement. Is there any other requirement besides safety goggles that students are?
The safety test, the meters is the only tool they use. So the safety glasses are just there to protect their eyes in the event that someone were to accidentally wire short and some glass particles be able to come off, those get into their eyes. But, it's not for any chemicals or anything like that. We don't have any of those in this lab. So it's just simply to protect them from a flash if it were to happen. And it does happen from time to time, but never on a real grand scale. But just better be safe than sorry. So,
Okay. Well,
any other?
thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
I think that's, did you shoot the fire extinguisher in the exit? I don't know if you got that or not.
No, I,
If I say anything that incriminates me, tell me so we can redo it.
Are you sure you want to say this?